Two, one. And we're recording, coming to focus, unfocused.
Are you focused?
Let's see. Gonna have to wait there till are you coming into better focus. You see, the one who originates the call gets better connectivity. Like now you're
Yeah,
getting the deeper
yeah,
focus,
yeah. I've noticed.
and your voice is getting lost. In any case, you've got your tea. I have my gin and tonic with lemon today.
Ooh, naughty, naughty boy. Well, I guess it's 3 o'clock over where you're at. You're in the. It's too dry over there to be a proper swamp. I guess it's just
Listen,
it's raining right now. So
you've lived in California all your life. You know why I'm drinking.
no, I actually didn't live in California. Really, I li-
Yeah.
I have to be quite frank. I lived inside of a very tight bubble known as the church.
Ah, the church. What's your definition of church?
Well, when most people heard me say I lived in a church, they probably thought some sort of stupid cathedral or some sort of
Building.
some sort of building, and I think that's just stupid. Well, I mean, if you recall, a few podcasts ago, we talked about how there's no races, how the term race is just a hijacked term, and we went over a couple
Right.
hijacked terms, and
It's
this
one
is
of
the
our most popular podcasts, by the way,
yeah.
episode.
Just make sure to mention that again. Talk about shameless self promoting.
Mhm.
If we're going to shameless self promote, encourage people to subscribe now.
We're doing very well. In 1 week, we have 109 or 110 downloads.
Oh, keep it up, guys. Anyway, getting back to it,
Church.
church is a sort of hijacked term. It's not necessarily hijacked by the left. It's not really hijacked by any group in particular. It's mostly been hijacked by people who want things to remain as they are. I hate to just throw this term around, but it really is very applicable here. People
How do
who
you
like
distinguish between
established things.
church? How do you distinguish between church and the religion that the church is dedicated to? How do you distinguish those, or are they the same term? I don't know.
Well, religion is, I would say, a system of teachings and beliefs. That's probably the best way to define religion. So you
Okay.
got your Buddhism, you got your Christianity. That's just a system of beliefs there. There's a however, this sort of idea is taken a bad turn. People have taken it to such an extreme that that modern evangelicals are trying to run away from that term. They hate the word religion. If you go up to a modern born again evangelical Christian and
Hmm.
say, "Oh, you're religious," they'll
Hmm.
probably puke. They
Right.
hate that. They
Right.
hate being called religious
Right. Right.
because they don't they're it doesn't feel it doesn't really and it doesn't make sense to see it as a system of beliefs.
Hmm.
It's not supposed to be about the church hierarchy or what time the church starts or whether
Well,
we baptize or
the
sprinkle.
word church, which you probably know, comes from the Greek word kurios, which means house of the Lord,
Mm.
literally.
Most of the times though when the word church is used in the Greek, it's the word ecclesia.
That's a Latin term. That's not a Greek term.
Nevertheless, a better translation is congregation
Ah, okay, or
or
community.
or group of people.
Okay.
So so that's really the better way of thinking of the church is thinking of this sort of people in I hate to go all as guardian on you millennials. It's a joke that young people get, don't bother. um, it's this function that exists beyond space and time. It's supposed to represent all people who believe that they have been redeemed from their sin by Jesus Christ. That's what it means to be a
Well, now
part
you're
of the
talking about the
church.
Christian church. I was speaking more generically about church.
Well, I mean, depends on how loosey goosey you want to be. You want to throw in Mormons and JWs and Scientology, Church of
What's the difference
Scientology.
between a church and a cult, for instance? Now that you've mentioned Jehovah's Witnesses and Scientology, what's the
Well,
difference between a church and a cult?
I'm defining church by its original biblical standard. So
So
I'm
am I.
right, but a cult by its very but well, at least how I would define a cult is something that is unorthodox in its teachings and
Hmm.
usually it's a departure from orthodoxy and usually is brought about by a charismatic leader. That's
Okay.
typically what it. They usually are guised as
Mhm.
orthodoxy, outward appearances. They'll use terms like church,
Mhm.
religion, uh, you know, pastor, whatever.
Lord.
They take the same superficialities
Mhm.
but kind of remove the orthodox gut of it. It's sort
Mhm.
of like they're just like cults are like zombies, very charismatic zombies. It's all dead inside. There's no It's rotting and dead and
Well,
gross.
let me just can I throw something at you here? You're familiar with the Christian religion called the Mennonites, correct?
Yeah, vaguely
Okay,
though.
Mennonites.
Only what
Well,
you've told me.
they're very austere individuals. They have no ceremonies. They're sort of like the Quakers in a lot of
Puritans.
ways. Yeah, they're very
Jeez.
austere. They don't believe in lords and thrones and angels and crowns and scepters, and they don't believe in any of that stuff. They don't have any
I
of
mean,
that romantic medieval sort of
I mean,
trappings.
well, I want to back up a little bit and go back to what do you mean by lords and kings and scepters and this and that? I mean,
Well, I mean, you walk into a typical Christian church and you hear them all singing about the Lord on high,
well,
and
there's a huge
we
difference
throw
between
ourselves on your throne,
Well, there's a huge
and
difference between, you know, using that imagery. I mean, unless you want to get into a discussion of imagery, which is a perfectly legitimate discussion. Uh, I mean, the whole purpose of imagery is to represent something greater. I mean, if you really think that when people are singing, we throw ourselves at the throne of Jesus Christ, our King, you're thinking, oh, we're going to throw ourselves at this medieval throne, this medieval crownly figure crowned by some pope. And I think you're missing the point. The whole point of imagery and the art and the all that stuff is to kind of put your mind in the right place so that you can start the conversation. I had a video on my own personal YouTube channel not
yeah.
too while ago. I talked about wholesale versus retail
Oh,
theology.
we
And
did
this
a
is
pod on that. We did a podcast on
Oh, we did? No, you weren't there. It was just me. You talked too much.
it.
I was really short.
Oh, that's right. I made a comment on it,
That's right. Yeah.
which
Oh,
finally
wow.
shut you
Look
up.
at
Which
you.
finally
Oh,
shut you up. Yeah, which finally
it,
quieted the whole thing.
anyway,
So get
the
back to this. I mean, do we really need a church to have a religion? That's what I want to know.
do we really need a church to have
Yeah.
a religion?
Do I
Well,
need to go to church in order to have a religion?
to have a religion?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. To
you. I mean,
profess a certain
look,
religion.
look, man. You can just pull out anything you want. You can make up something crazy like I don't know, pantheostoicism, and call it a
Yeah,
religion
that's a
if you
good one. I
want.
like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where'd you get that? I wonder. Uh,
Yeah, you could.
do you know of any Pantheo-Stoic salads?
Oh well, none sane, I might point.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
In any event,
Yeah.
it doesn't take. I mean, it really doesn't take much to make a religion, because
Hmm.
it's such a term.
Hmm.
But for the Christian faith, church, not the building, but as we discussed, the
The community. Yep.
people,
Yep.
that's integral. You
Well,
really
what if I don't like other people? What if I think that hell is other people? Like a famous philosopher once said, I don't want to go to church. I don't want to, I don't even like going to the movies. I
well,
don't like
I well
crowds.
then I
Why do
would
I have to go to a church?
I well, again, not the church building, but the people. I would
Yeah.
say you should get over yourself.
Oh,
I,
I, oh,
that's what I would say.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would definitely say that because
I'm
yeah,
proud. All
100%.
right. I'm
Get over
proud. Yep.
yourself. Get over yourself.
And I'm
Oh,
getting worse as I get
good.
older, don't
I'm
I?
too good for everyone else that believes in what I believe.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I mean, you're going to disagree with everyone you meet in one way or another.
probably.
And no,
Probably.
by no means it's supposed to be like a social club.
I don't even know why I tolerate you. I can't even understand
I
that.
know, I know. That's just it. Is that church is not supposed to be a social club, which is kind of how
Come.
it's become. Yeah, which
New Life Church. Oh, yeah.
well, I mean, not necessarily them. There's a lot of churches out. The mega churches, they unfortunately succumb to this because they're so big. It's easy to come there, listen to a little bit of music, have
Isn't
a
there one
pastor.
called Reality? There's a church called Reality. Carpinteria.
No, I wouldn't throw reality under the bus. I would put someone like Joel Osteen. He's in
Who's he?
charge of he's a guy in Texas, in Houston, Texas. He made headlines for refusing to open up his doors for people who were made homeless because of the hurricanes. Yeah,
Ah, okay.
yeah, nice guy. He's a real
Real Christian.
flashy, yeah, real Christian guy, televangelist guy, big on prosperity gospel. A whole nother.
Is
That's a
that
whole.
the guy that bought three jet
No,
planes?
that's
Or
another one, but
oh,
same
same type of deal. Okay, okay.
same kind of deal.
All right.
Those kind of people are kind of flashy personalities. You go there for a motivational speech to make you
Hmm.
feel good. You don't
Right.
necessarily go there to be good.
Ah,
And that's the purpose of church is it's supposed to be it's almost communistic, but it's voluntary. You
you
know,
know, I think you've just landed on the answer to my question. Church is not to make you feel good, it's to make you be good.
exactly.
Now you've answered my question. Now
Well, you
you've
were
answered
really bad at
my question.
asking it. That's why it took so long.
No, I wasn't bad at asking. I was drilling down. That's what I do. I just drill down to the
Well, I
basics.
would have, if you were more
Okay,
blunt.
Soren Kierkegaard, the philosopher that both of you and I have read,
Ah, the Danish philosopher. Woo!
Kierkegaard, he had a similar problem with the Lutheran German church in that they would go there to feel good, not to be good. Do you think the Christian churches have evolved out of that yet, or are
Oh
they
no.
still in the
I,
throes of
I
feeling good?
I'm convinced that it is intrinsic in human nature that people want to do what feels good rather than what is good.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah.
So, I mean, the very best that they can do is rally against it. But even Zoran Kierkegaard didn't cure humanity of this disease.
No,
At
no.
best, what he did is he alerted a lot of people to it and he made people understand it. That's really all the best you can do is make
He
people.
rang the bell, as they
Yeah,
say,
yeah. I
and
mean,
you cannot unring a bell.
that is also true.
Hmm.
And I mean, I would say that even though it would diminish the church's influence,
Hmm.
it would be very. I mean, I've been to. I don't even go to it. I don't want to go to a church that's all about that feely, lovey, goody thing. But I want to go to a church that really drills down into how I can improve myself. It gives me a community of other people I can learn from and I can
Hmm.
grow with,
Hmm.
and they provide opportunities where I can actually help the community out. If a church is just kind of there, they're not out in the community helping out with charity. What I was reading some
Hmm.
statistic, less than 10% of church income is spent on charity. I think it was close to 5 or 1%. I don't remember.
Churches across the board,
Yeah,
really?
maybe. Yeah, yeah. If
Wow.
if my memory serves me right, most of it is spent on administrative cost. And it's not
Right.
just paying the pastor because I want to state this very clear. Pastors are the most overworked and underpaid profession of all time. I'm gonna be.
Well, relative.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean the median, not necessarily the
Hmm.
mean, because
Hmm.
there's Joel Osteen obscures the average and all that. Sure, the anomalies, but most of the pastors I know are dirt poor, but they work like there's no tomorrow. And actually, statistically, theology degrees are have the lowest return on investment degrees
Hmm.
in theology. But
Hmm.
getting back to what I was originally saying is that I don't trust a church that's not going out and really stimulating both the congregation
Hmm.
and the community to go out and do good. And even the best churches I've seen don't have a perfect participation rate. They
Okay.
I
All
but
right.
I've heard of them. They do exist. Churches in India have about
Hmm.
100% participation rate.
Hmm.
And the
These
reason
are Christian churches?
Christian churches. And the reason why
Mhm.
is because in places like India or even, who on paper have freedom of religion,
Mhm.
you are effectively disowned by society. You are the deplorable, worse than dirt if you renounce all of the Hindu gods and only take on Jesus. If
So
that
you're an untouchable.
you are worse than an untouchable. You are
Worse.
at that level.
Worse.
You're at that level.
Wow.
It's sometimes you can face violence in places like
Hmm.
India, but that's all around the country. And so, if the church wants to do something,
Mhm.
everyone's going to join because there is no other thing they can do. They're not allowed to go any in
Yeah.
lots of public places. They are literally marked people. That
Mhm.
is the best way that we could synthesize uh, real
So
church
they're like
participation.
conservatives on campus in America.
You could say that. You could say that. I would say that
Occasionally beaten up and yeah.
no,
Mhm.
to my knowledge, no conservative has been killed
No,
for
not
their
yet
beliefs.
anyway. Not yet.
Yes, not yet.
They've
Thankfully,
tried, but
hopefully never.
yeah.
But I mean, in North Korea, Iran, Iraq, China, yes, China actually is cracking down as we speak on the Christian community, the underground community.
Yeah, we
That's
talked about that,
we
about the
talked about
Catholic
that.
Church. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, hundreds of millions of Christians are at risk at any given moment
Mhm.
and have always been at risk. I
Okay,
would
so
say,
I wanna we're coming up to about 5 more minutes left on this podcast, but I wanna factor in one more term that seems to be very current with both millennials and with even some iGens. A substitute word for church and even a substitute word for religion. It's called spiritual. If you ask people, they say, "Well, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual."
then
And
I
they
want to
and
puke.
they gaze up into heaven with this otherworldly look as though they're going to be transfigured.
See,
What do you make of all that? They're
okay,
spiritual.
gee, why'd you only give me 5 minutes?
You're the one
So,
that's yapping away over here.
yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I know.
We'll give you more minutes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, as I explained before, religion is best understood as a system of rules and beliefs you adhere to.
Right. Right. We agree on that.
Spirituality is basically you take away all the rules, but you just have beliefs.
Right.
So the problem is there's no, I don't want to say the word rigidness, but there's no system to it. It's sort of you making it up as you go. It's basically a belief system run by your feelings, which can change at any moment for any reason. It's
Hmm.
not based in reality. It's based in as you feel, which changes every second. And reality doesn't change, but reality doesn't change
Well, what
every
you're
second.
describing is driving a car on a road that not only has no map but no roads,
And no sign. Yeah, it's
no signs, and
basically.
no rules of
But
traffic. Or,
but here's the thing: is that it's unlike
that's right.
that situation in which you crash and burn.
Yeah. Right.
The spiritual people, spiritual but not religious people, whenever something comes up, they can morph their belief into whatever makes them feel good again. So it
Well, not
doesn't.
only that, not only that, they can agree with you no matter what you say. They because they're so spiritual,
Yes.
you'll mention an objection. They'll say that's right, even though they don't agree with it. They'll say that's right. And as a spiritual person, I can embrace you, and I can put my arms around you, and they get all gushy and "Ugh."
You really have had many bad experiences with like overly feminine, spiritual but not religious people, or overly religious people.
All of the above.
I enjoy being the exception and not the
A,
rule.
B, and C. Yes.
In any event,
There's a sort
though,
of sacchariness, this. I love the word saccharine. It means superciliously sweet.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I don't.
they do favor the kumbaya thing. That's the
Yes.
biggest problem with
Yes. Yes.
spiritual but not religious crowd is that they have no principles or morals, which is effectively the whole purpose. I mean, if we're going just survival, just
Yeah.
a purely, sterilized evolutionary perspective of the purpose of religion and society,
Mm.
it provides morals. Good
Well,
morals makes more
I've
people.
met some spiritual people who say, "Oh, I do have morals and principles, but they're all evolving. Like what I believed in yesterday, I don't believe in that yesterday because
Kind of
I've
like
evolved."
Obama's opinion on gay marriage. It just kind of
Oh,
changed.
that's
Like one
exactly
day
what.
one day he went to bed and gay marriage was bad. Then next
Yeah.
day, nope, it's
It's okay.
okay. Do it whatever you want with whoever you want with, and here's
I want
marriage
the phone
certificate.
number of his drug dealer. I really want the phone number of that.
Yeah,
I would love to go to bed believing in a set of rock solid principles and wake up and not believe any of them. I
Whenever
would love.
it's convenient. Whenever it is convenient. That's the saddest thing about it. That really is.
So you're not buying into the spiritual business, are you? I can see that.
You see, it's a bit of both and, yet neither
Mm,
nor.
mm,
It's right in between. I believe that
yeah.
my faith is I try and walk the line as best I can. That's where the orthodox teachings are. Now, how I actually perform those is a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But I hope I've
Well,
answered
I
your
must
question.
say that I've known you for a couple of years now, and I must say you're one of the most scrupulously moral people I. And I don't know how you got to it's a church or religion or whatever it is that got you to where you are. But I can tell you this: I can depend upon your ethics, and I can depend upon your morality. I can take your word to the bank. I can trust you. You have personal integrity of character.
Stop it.
So if your
Stop.
religion got you that way, God love you. Oh,
He,
excuse me.
you know what? He does love me. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, there you are. We did this in 20 minutes and 49 seconds.
Folks, if you want to have more of a discussion on this, feel free to comment below. We probably won't bother commenting, but we'll make another podcast if you're really desperate for it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our new YouTube channel and see us on iTunes.
Yeah, we're really building things away fast. I want to thank everybody who's been following us, all the messages that you've been doing, the sharing, Facebook has been great. We love doing this. It's a lot of fun. Hope it's a lot of fun for you. And we'll be seeing you later.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye bye.
What is up with you?
I love it.
Hmm.
They love it too.
I think what you like about it is me objecting to
The what?
me objecting to it.
I do.